This is the Climate Show. Welcome to the Climate Show. I'm your host, Theo Talcott. I'm joined by my mother, Diana Talcott, by Karen Lee, solar installer, and I'm joined by my friend Bob Koch. Bob Koch.
Hi, Bob. May I meet? Oh, I wanted to shake your hand, not get bitten. Hello, Bob. Nice to meet you. Fresh
Wow.
thing. Yeah, you're not sorry a bit.
Hungry.
I'm attracted to yellow.
Oh, right. We have a problem
He
then.
loves this room. It's so yellow.
Makes me.
Do you have a solar hot water system in your house?
I
if
have
you're attractive,
6.
You are
6
attracted
houses?
to yellow, aren't you? Cute.
Yeah. I
Good
bought
for
them
you.
all from you.
That's wonderful. Glad to hear that.
Yeah. What's your company called again?
Solar Pro.
Solar Pro. I love that name.
Me too. Thank you.
Okay. What's up?
Where's your business?
We're in Arlington.
Arlington, Virginia?
In what
Arlington, Vermont. We do most of our installations in Bennington County and close by areas next to
you
Bennington County.
install whole solar systems?
We do. That's our business. We're solar pros.
That's
We do
awesome.
solar hot water, and we're getting into photovoltaics this year. So, yes, we're trying to be part of the solution.
Solar hot water is one of the best places because it's just everyone needs hot water, and then it's just gathered on the roof. And a lot of the world, that's quite common.
Well,
What's
it really
they
is.
call
the,
it in Israel. There's called the funny name. It's like the droog. What was that
No,
word?
no.
It's called the
Dude? No.
a
Is it called
dude.
the- It's called the dude. I think it's called the dude.
There's a funny like Arabic word for the hot water or black hot water tank that's all over
Oh.
it. And it's called
I'm
the
not
dude.
gonna have to look that up when I get home. I have to
Anyway,
Google it.
yeah.
Is he called the dude? Is that right?
Okay, we're gonna this is an example. We're gonna research this online and tell you right now whether this is true or not.
The dude.
Amazing.
The dude abides.
The dude abides through the power of editing. Amazing. So it's kind of been a busy week here in Vermont. Vermont passed some legislation about fracking. We're the first state in the country to ban hydrofracking, which is this. Yes,
Vermont. Yay.
There's nothing to
Yay.
frack here.
High
you
five, Bob.
frackers.
High five, Bob. Yay.
Well, it's true, largely symbolic because the gas is actually not here, but it's
Yeah,
great because
somebody passed the gas here. There's no gas.
It wasn't me.
Maybe you should explain what hydrofracking is.
hydrofracking is a new way they've developed to get natural gas out of the shale beds that are in the earth. So what they do is they drill these wells and then they super pressurize it and then they send dynamite charges down there and explode the rock and then the gas leaks up through the well head. But inevitably it like leaks out into the water supply and it's like going to ruin the water supply of the whole world probably in the next 20 years unless we ban it right away. So
Not to mention the carbon emissions that come from using the fuel that comes as a result of the carbon fracking. It's bad stuff, Bob.
fracking.
I think that.
Bad fracking stuff.
I'm not sure.
Fracking is
if-
bad.
Is Karen right about that? I think it makes less carbon emissions than using fossil fuels that are like.
Bob, does it use less carbon emissions than solar? No.
So I think solar's the best, but
Solar's
I
the
think
best.
that it's better than coal.
Is it better than wind, Bob?
No,
No.
wind is great too.
Is it better than hydropower, Bob?
No. Well, it depends who you had to flood to get your hydropower. Actually.
That's true, but you know what? We already did that, so
No,
it's
they
sad,
still flood
but
more
it's
people all the time. In China, now they're flooding
know.
like huge villages full of Chinese people that are now having to move to cities, and they can't grow their rice.
Not even to mention the ecosystems that are being destroyed.
Terrible.
Forget about the little creatures.
Terrible.
Mustn't forget about the little guys.
Yeah,
Anyway, we're getting off the
I
subject.
love little guys.
Bob, zip it. Theo's
You're
turn.
bossy. You're bossy, but I like it.
You better watch it, Bob.
The show's getting away from us already, but it's good. So in other news, the legislature also passed this legislation on smart meters so that we can opt out and there's no fee and everyone should call CVPS and not have them put a radioactive electronic meter on your house.
Fact checker, radioactive. really?
Radioactive.
That was more like a loose word, but radioactive referring to
You
like,
mean radio? Like a radio?
I mean like cell phone radiation.
Fact check. What are the isotopes on that smart meter? Don't know what a
They're
bug
made.
bite-
They're made of
but it
vermont.
sounds
Busted.
pretty smart.
Theo's busted.
Busted.
Busted. Yes, I guess we're on television. We should be using more careful language. It is. They're not technically radioactive, although they do emit radiation because they are in a mesh network. So they're like the whole neighborhoods. Things are like talking to each other all the time.
See his hands? You see those hands? You know what
Yeah.
they call those? Call that when he doesn't know what he's talking about. He moves his hands like that.
To distract you from the
No,
mouth.
it's the science fingers.
Science fingers.
It's true. What was I talking about? Smart
Smart
meters.
meters.
No
Smart
wonder I
meters.
need my science fingers. It's the most complicated topic in the world. It's these like, it's like really way over my head, like why cell phones are bad for you and why they'll give you brain cancer if you hold a microwave oven to the side of your head. But nonetheless, it is true, and they are dangerous. So,
Did
Sorry, I
you
had to
say
get
you
my
can
phone.
feel the
What are
vibration?
you
Anyway,
doing down there, Bob?
so
I don't
smart
trust
me-
you when you go down there, Bob.
Just taking a phone call.
Okay.
yeah, everyone should turn off your cell phones during this. So they passed legislation, and that was our local Senator Bob Hartwell. Good job, Senator Bob.
Ah,
And
thank you.
That's
You're
the
not
other
Bob
Bob,
Hartwell.
actually, Senator Bob.
Me?
Bob Hartwell. Hey!
I am Senator Bob.
As a guest appearance. I had no idea he was going to be on.
Yeah,
Wow.
this is my brother Bob. Yeah,
Hi.
I have the deeper voice. But
That's how we tell you apart.
we're pretty much like we look alike, but he has a tan.
He's a senator. He
You got-
has to have a
You're
tan.
pretty clean cut, like a clean cut Bob. Bob's,
Yeah,
so were you guys like twins?
he's 5 minutes older.
Hmm.
Does
Interesting.
he use sunscreen?
No, we just on our heads.
I bet you need some. It's true.
Yeah. The rest is just fur.
Fur. Fur.
Yep.
We were talking
Sure.
earlier about adapting. Maybe that's it, the way you should do it.
Sunscreen.
A little sunscreen or a hat.
Sunscreen is pretty much full of chemicals, so we actually just use paint.
Use what?
There are no
Paint.
chemicals in paint,
No.
are there, Bob?
Just paint your head.
Paint your head.
Paint your
Oh, and you're going to be
head.
yellow? Because you like yellow? It's your favorite color?
Yeah.
It's going to be
But
weird.
one time, the other Bob painted his head yellow, and it drove me crazy, and so I just attacked it like this. Okay, back to the climate show.
Very
is
violent
fun.
show
Yeah.
you have here, Theo.
We are here to talk about climate change, the most serious topics in the world. Did you know we're in the middle of a planetary emergency? We're probably about to break the sky and go extinct as a species unless we totally get it together and drive the oil companies out of business.
Yeah, good thing I'm a different species than you.
This is actually the biggest challenge facing the human civilization that we've
And
ever
puppets.
had.
Ever?
And puppets.
The puppet civilization?
And ecosystems and the entire Earth.
Biggest problem ever.
It's the biggest problem that we've ever faced as human beings.
Faced or not faced. Yes.
Yeah, or
it seems
refusing
like
to
we're like
face.
completely not even remotely getting on the ball with it. It's like I feel like I've been on this thing for like 5 years reading about it, and I have seen
You.
my society get less interested in it, and the amount of people who care about it, the numbers go down, and the people who are into the subject wear out, and boy, the carbon emissions keep going up, and the weather keeps getting weirder, and here, so it's coming. We're in the middle of it, and I just wonder when we're going to turn around and get on with it and try and get real about it.
So you're just like an I told you so guy, right?
A little bit. I feel like I'm entitled to say I told you so. I've been
Well,
saying it's going to be bad for
I-
a while, but I'm not going to like lean back on that. I don't want to be like, right about it. I want us to get our act
You-
together and
right.
start dealing with it.
I think a lot of the problem is Bob and Theo and Diana.
Wait,
so
the problem is Bob and Theo and
No,
Hannah? No,
I was
no.
addressing. You are the freshest guy. What I was about to say, Bob, before
Fresh
you
air.
interrupted me, was that I think a lot of the problem is that people get depressed when they hear about climate change over and over again, and we see the effects of it. We're connecting the dots around the planet. We're seeing the sea level rise, the disastrous catastrophes that are happening across the globe as far as big, huge storms, floods, all the different
Right.
issues that are happening over and over again. And so it gets depressing. So that's why we're not really paying attention the way we were a
Right.
few years ago. So I think we need to,
It's hard to keep
Get
your
over
mind.
it.
It's hard to keep your mind on something that's a bummer like that. It's
Right.
Like so you have to kind of be strong, hard enough, and cheerful for other reasons so that you don't just be like, wow. I
Well,
don't
for
wanna-
me, I know that depression with regard to climate change and other environmental issues, it can really get you down. So I decided a few years ago that I was going to stop being depressed and I was going to really do something about it instead and try to help myself mentally and so that I can have better mental health. And I feel better when I do something. And I think that that's something that we all should do that are not climate deniers. We need to feel good about ourselves and we need to feel good about what we're doing for the planet for the future.
It's good to have a plan.
Yeah.
It is good to have a plan. And I think if you can
On something that
identify things that you're doing right and you're feeling good about yourself, that it helps you so that you're not depressed, and then you can share that feeling with other people. I'm using my hands. What does that mean, Bob?
Feel good.
Oh, good, good, good. So
Two good fingers.
Yeah. So is that why you started your solar business?
as a matter of fact, it is.
Guessed it.
You're pretty smart. I was in the non-feel-good business for 30 years.
What do you mean? Like you gave people shots?
you
No,
run a
I
gas
was
station?
in the mortgage business. We didn't do any subprime loans. I have to tell you, I have to give that disclosure right up front. We're not responsible. We're not the bad guys. But it was really boring, and we just, it was pushing paper all the time, and it was good because we helped people get into their houses and that sort of thing. But I wasn't doing anything for the planet. I was an environmental activist on the side, and I worked hard at that as a volunteer. But I felt on our second career that we needed to do something that would help get the planet better too. Oh gosh, the other Bob's back. What's up, Bob?
Just listening to your story.
Oh, good. Well, thanks. It's a pretty good story because, see, my husband and I, when we moved to Vermont, we thought we were going to retire and this would be our second summer home. It's going to be lovely, but we didn't do well in the market like a lot of people didn't. So then we discovered that we had to go back to work, and at our ages, we weren't really employable
Why?
because we're old.
I'm old.
Well,
We're
we're pretty old. Yeah, you're older. Well, actually, you do look
But
pretty
old could
old.
be called
Well,
smart.
I'm older, but he's really
Older and wiser.
We're both-
Older and wiser. So we discovered that we needed to be self-employed in order to make a living, and we decided this time we're going to do something that's right for the environment. And I always believed in solar, and so we discovered that there was a market here for solar. We weren't sure if solar worked in Vermont because we moved up here from Florida 6 years ago, but it turns out that solar works great in Vermont. So we're real excited
Do you
to.
think we could put solar panels on our heads?
I think you have the perfect gleaming spot there for solar. I think it would be awesome.
There are hats that have fans on the inside.
Yes, there are.
Are they solar operated? They must
They
be.
are. They are.
Keep you cool.
Little tiny photovoltaic cell.
So can you work us up a quote?
Absolutely, be happy to.
Thanks.
It's much less expensive than you realize, and there would be financing available.
Yeah,
for
maybe
your
they
head.
could get a pace
They
loans.
could get a PACE loan. What's a PACE loan?
A pace loan. Well, it's
Face for your face.
PACE for your face.
this is sort of like local news a little bit and good news. Now you're able to go get a loan. It's a little bit complicated to explain, but basically you can get a loan to get the solar panels for your house, and you don't have to pay for it all up front. You just pay it off like you would pay your utility bill, but instead you're paying less.
Yes. The way the PACE program works, I'm going to try to make it simple because it's pretty hard. It'd be certainly a little hard for you to understand, Bob. But it's really not. Sorry, no offense. Sorry. It's only because you bit me earlier. Sorry.
That wasn't me. That was him. Me.
It was not. Are you a denier? You're not a climate denier, are you?
He was a climate denier. If somebody, have you changed your mind? I mean, the climate show is worn off now, but do you still deny that climate change is a problem?
No, it's a big problem, but I also changed my mind.
That it's... So you
No, we love to change our minds.
I like to change my mind. I'm all for changing.
Yeah, flip, flop, flip, flop, flip, flop.
I mean, there's some things I don't change my mind about. I'm
Okay,
like
yeah,
convinced global warming. Anyone who thinks global warming is not happening is either like getting paid to say that, or is
They're being duped.
being
They're
duped,
being
or
duped
they're
in
just
many
they-
situations.
I really feel like there's a lot of people who would have to give up their whole like way of life and what they think politically. Like, there's no way you can laissez-faire, give up, and let corporations just run everything and not have government do anything, which is sort of the right-wing agenda, and also deal with climate change. Because if you're going to deal with climate change, you have to, do public transportation, and you have to,
change is hard.
have a safety net and all
Change
that
is hard.
stuff. So
Change is
there's
tough.
political reasons to for the right-wing entrenchment on.
I'd like to talk about pace if I could,
Sure.
Yeah.
before we
Pick up the pace.
pick up the pace.
Dun,
Just
dun.
1 second, and then we'll, if you don't mind, I would love to talk about the political issue too.
Right-wing conspiracy?
Yes, I love conspiracies, a discussion of them anyway. I don't like conspirators. I like to discuss about conspiracy. Oops, you have something attached to your hand.
Thank
Sorry
you.
about that.
Oh, we got tingles. Oh.
Anyway, the PACE loans are available to people that make 80% of the median income in the region. And so most people would qualify for that. It's a very, very easy qualifying program. And the payments are structured so that you're paying less than you're actually paying now for the same type of utility that you would be replacing. It's available not only for
That's
solar,
really cool.
but it's available for putting insulation in your home, getting an energy audit for your home. It's available for other types of renewable energy improvements.
Like, could we build a windmill?
You could build a windmill, that sort of thing. So it's a no-brainer, and people really should participate in it because we have several $1 million here in Vermont to use under that program. It's a very, very good thing. We're very excited about it.
Is this a federal thing or?
No, well, it's a nationwide program, but it's actually a state sponsored program.
Okay.
And it also is endorsed by each individual town because the towns are actually responsible for collecting the payments.
So where did the money come from?
It's federal money. Yeah.
So federal money.
Bob, you may have participated in funding it a little bit. Do you pay taxes?
No.
Why not?
Well, I pay taxes to the puppet authority.
Oh, well, good. Well, the Puppet Authority may contribute. I'm not sure. We'll have to research that. We'll have to Google it.
No, but really, do you think that this is like the government should be spending taxpayer money on things that have to be subsidized? I mean, if it's such a good idea, then why
Well,
wouldn't
then-
it just pay for itself? Just go and
Because
get.
we have to fight the oil situation because the oil companies get subsidized by the government too, so it's only fair.
Well, what if nobody got subsidized? Wouldn't that be more fair?
It would be more fair, but that's not the way of the world.
Well, no, you just want your piece of the pie, but I mean, really, well, I think government shouldn't be subsidizing anyone.
Well, I agree with that too, except that that's not the world that we live in.
Yeah,
If
but-
everybody did everything right and we didn't have to have laws and regulations and then we wouldn't descend into anarchy, we wouldn't need government at all, would we?
Yeah, like,
Yeah, like-
imagine.
Imagine.
All the people
Living for today.
today.
Okay.
You're just pretending. Hi, are you ready to do more? Bart?
Roll them on, ride them up, roll them on, ride them up.
Rawhide! So we're here to talk about the most important things in the world, like puppets and why you need them to deal with climate change, because climate change is just so damn depressing.
That's right.
What
We
can you do to not be
puppets.
depressed?
That's right. We need
You
to
can
have.
eat chocolate because
Right.
it has anandamides in it. It makes the bliss chemical in your brain. You can jog, although I'm happier when I don't jog, so that makes me happy not to do it. No things, I was never gonna have to go jog again. Yeah.
One of the
You don't say
best-
jog anymore. People don't go
Jog,
jogging. Then
jog.
they go running. Jogging is like so
Well,
1985.
he's a child of the 60s. He
True.
can't help it. He's a real
Child
retro.
of the 60s.
Yeah.
Theo the retro.
I'm like forward to go retro. I really believe the 60s was an evolutionary moment in our planetary history where some kind of like
This-
crazy divine thing happened where evolutionary consciousness sort of swooped down into the species as a like.
But a lot of that has been lost, I feel. I think
I
it needs to
know.
be
We need-
rekindled.
It does need to be rekindled.
Are you sure
Yeah,
that
honored.
isn't this is spring? We've just had winter. It feels like winter's coming in on you.
Yes.
So now now you have the chance to do something.
You're right.
My
You're
mom,
exactly right.
My mom was a real child of the 60s. She was in San Francisco in 1967, although she was on the other side of town working for Dean Winter in the stock as brokerage, and she a little bit missed it. But you were there a little bit.
I was there when it happened.
She was
What
there. Whatever the 60s was. Maybe the 60s is a bigger deal as a cultural thing downstream than it was at the time.
No, it was huge at the time.
Was it?
It was huge. I was there.
Where?
I was
Where?
I was in Florida with
Oh,
all
Florida.
the rednecks.
I
But we
heard.
still had hippies in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we had
And
lots
they're
of
fun
hippies.
to shoot at.
what hippies are.
I don't know.
Well, as a Koch brother, you might think that they're fun to shoot at. But it was a really good beginning, and we just need to get that energy going again. And we need to keep our momentum.
We do. I mean,
re-energize ourselves.
The people like look back at that era and often like kind of trash it down. But boy, the things that they're standing up for were so beautiful: peace and justice, and like a new humanity that's not so pushed
Equality.
into all these great things.
All those great things.
Yeah, but you know what? It couldn't hold up to the power of disco.
Disco's a lot of fun.
True.
Why can't we have disco and peace and love? They go
We
together.
can, for sure.
Dancing is great
Dancing,
for
dancing,
love.
dancing.
Dancing.
Bob was
Dancing's
very
all-
eloquent last week of talking about the dancing as all the little boys dancing, all the girls.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like, what to do to kids? How do you
So
like?
we need dancing and hula hooping.
Yes.
Guess
If
there's
only
such
there
a
was
thing.
more hula hooping in the world, we could probably save the world.
I think
Fiesta!
hula hooping is great. Yay!
We're waiting.
If only there were more hula hoopers in the world.
Woo!
Okay,
Who have we here?
Let's sing, everybody. Okay, here's my brother. Ready? Hula
This
hoops.
is definitely a show from the 60s.
60s.
The hula hoopers came and left. They did their thing.
That was it.
They're pretty cool hula
was
hoopers,
good. All right.
I have to tell you.
They're hula hoopers.
Hula
hoopers, so
hoopers,
good.
that's very cool of you, Bob.
Okay, now
good.
how about
So,
coming up with at least one new thing that people could do
yes, great idea.
Besides hula hooping?
Besides hula hooping. I
Besides
have an
hula
idea.
hooping.
What?
Good.
I think we here in Vermont are very comfortable with ourselves. We are very fortunate for example, live in a state that passed the first non-fracking law. I
So
think it was a
good.
good job, Bob, the other Bob.
Yep.
You're not the Bob.
Senator Bob.
I was Senator
Senator
Bob.
Bob.
Thank you, Bob. We appreciate that. It was a very good job. And Vermont has really been on the leading edge of a lot of very, very smart, environmentally friendly, climate correct legislation. And that's a
We
good
tried.
thing. Although,
And
we
marriage
only,
equality.
Very good.
all of that.
Leading Obama all the
we
way.
are very, very good.
How close are we to 350?
And we are the home of 350.org.
Right.
It's we have a, and our
No
little
kidding.
tiny state only has 700,000 people. We make a big impact for the size of our state, but because we're comfortable here in Vermont, we are not sharing enough with the rest of the world. I moved to Vermont. My husband and I had to drag him along, although he loves Vermont, don't get me wrong. But I was the one that wanted to come here because I needed to find peace and live amongst people with whom I agreed with most of the time. And it was just much more comfortable than like saying living in Florida, where I was originally from. The most divisive place. It's really, really tough living in Florida.
Yeah,
Politically.
Mickey Mouse. What a
Yeah.
bastard.
Mickey wasn't that bad. It's his bosses that made it really tough. But anyway, I think it's important that we share with our friends and relatives outside the state how we feel about climate change and help them spread the message.
Yeah.
Because you know why? Arab Spring taught us a lesson. We can make a difference,
We can.
especially through social media. It's a perfect situation that we are in a bigger need to act globally, and we've never had the opportunity globally to share more information than we do now. So in a way, we're very lucky, but we need to act. We need to do it, Bob.
Yeah, I agree, except for a couple things. See,
What?
the Arab Spring, now if you look at it, now that it's a year later, it's actually...
It's
just-
tough.
Yeah,
Change is
it's
not
It's
easy.
not so good. It's not so good.
Well, is it better or worse than it was?
Well, let me just say, the elections in Egypt are tomorrow, and I was listening this morning to the news, and it sounds like they have extremists! And you know what else? In a lot of the other countries, a lot of people... There's a lot of infighting, a lot of people getting killed, a lot of
Is
intolerance.
there any infighting and intolerance in America? Yes, quite a bit, as a matter of
Yeah,
fact.
but here we keep it under control because it's corporate sponsored. Here, yeah. With a word
So
for
you're
our
saying
corporate
corporations
sponsors.
are better than, Bob? We don't agree with that. We
Well,
agree with that democracy
no.
is the best thing.
I'm
I'm
and
just saying
change
that,
is tough.
that, you know when they say people are puppets? Well, actually, puppets are puppets. And people sometimes try to control the puppets and make them say things they don't really want to say.
That's
And-
why people need to say what they need to say and share it with each other.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's like people are puppets because they only say what corporations tell them to say. Like, there'll be an ad that says, you want to drink some corn syrup today. And you'll be like, oh, I need corn syrup. Must have it. Must have it. See, must be green.
That's why
and
we
bubbly.
Vermonters need to share
Mountain
our
Dew.
wisdom with the rest of the country and the rest of the world.
Yeah, we share Mountain Dew. I heard that they went to sit down with in Afghanistan with the tribal elders, and they made tea for them, and they said, no, we don't want tea. We want energy drinks. We want Mountain Dew. That's what they wanted.
Who wanted that?
The tribal elders in Afghanistan wanted
Wow.
Mountain Dew.
I bet you probably had a lot of tea. They'd be like, wow,
Yeah,
good,
they're like,
good
we
weird
have too much tea. We want Mountain Dew.
guarana.
They're
said, "This
already
is so
addicted
sad."
to corn syrup.
So sad.
But
Mountain-
you know,
Oh,
there
but
are a
that's
lot
good
of-
news. Do you guys know we're probably actually leaving Afghanistan? It appears like they're actually pulling out of Afghanistan. And
Yeah,
they went to the
great.
NATO summit. They
That's
just
great
they said
news.
it
That
is
So-
very
great
good
news.
Yeah, great news unless you're a girl who wants to go to school there.
Well, there's neither here nor there really.
Well, we kind of got in a little trouble there, and then didn't really make any better. He said, "Oh yes, oh now you can go to school, girls." And then, sorry, now we're gonna leave, and maybe if you do, then you'll just get shot.
Right, but that's no reason to stay there. And the whole thing is, this is a specious argument. You can't graft onto the beautiful tree of feminism the lurking militarist madness of like, whoa, we will go and dominate some foreign culture and make them. I mean, granted, I'm all for like changing the entire culture over there. It's so gross. Like the burqa, I think is incredibly cultural stupidity. But
Well, you know what they put under the burqa? Nothing.
wow,
Time.
that's hot.
Yeah,
I bet
hot,
it is
literally.
pretty hot. I was going to say it's pretty
90
warm there
degrees.
until summertime.
Nothing. Jesus.
Nothing.
God, that sounds terrible. It's like a canvas bag.
Do you ever touch the lining?
I
of a
mean, I've
burqa?
never actually seen
It's
a
actually
burqa.
velvet.
Really?
So,
Probably
regarding
not.
climate change, we need to pick our battles. And I think that, Bob, I would like to have a battle with you about climate change. I think that the United States, from a political standpoint, needs to understand that climate change is the most significant challenge of our times. And we need to put as much energy and as much political will behind that change as we do behind our military effort. Do you agree with that, Bob? Probably not.
I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Wow, you grew a brain. Good for
No,
you.
no, I know that's true, but I'm also not denying some of these other truths. That's true. That's true.
In fact, we have the technology, we have the knowledge, and we have the need to solve all of our climate problems.
Yeah.
We just need political will.
Political will.
So how do we have political will? We need a movement by the people. How do we get a movement by the people? By talking, sharing the information, and not turning our backs on the problem.
That's right.
That's
Which is
the
kind
bottom
of what we're
line.
doing here. It's
That's the
like you
bottom
may
line.
wonder why we're on your TV now and just talking this way. It's because we do this for free, and you can too. You can come down to gnat-tv, where gnat-tv, and do a
Spelled
show.
just like Nat. You don't actually pronounce the G in Nat.
Gnat,
No, just Nat.
Nat-TV, right?
I mean, you can pronounce the G, but in the word, if
Gnat.
you're visualizing it, just Nat.
That's why I'm going to write it on the screen right now with the powers of editing.
It also is like gnashing your teeth.
Ganesh.
Don't have teeth.
Ganesh.
Gnashing your gums.
Gums.
Ganeshing
Okay.
your teeth.
We were talking about something else before getting into this
Climate
phonetics.
change.
No, not even that. We were talking about mobilizing the masses of American
Yes,
citizens
yes.
who
Can
don't
you
care
imagine?
about climate change.
So it
She
just like-
saw our show, and I knew her, saw her live green, and I'd like to give props to those guys for putting that on again. It was really cool.
Alan and
Thank
Nancy
you, Alan.
Benoit are
It's actually
major
called the Living
heroes.
Green
Living
Expo.
Green
Living Green.
Expo. You're so smart,
Good vibe.
Bob.
Yeah.
You
yeah,
got it.
Yeah.
That
My
was
friend was on the cover of the newspaper, and they took his picture there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Maybe I could get his autograph.
Actually, two of my friends, Gov and Oliver.
That was a cool picture.
So by mobilizing people, we can then get a movement started, and we can make a change. We can.
We can.
We can.
We are the world.
We
We
are.
are
the
the children.
children.
Another
We are the ones who make a better day, so let's start giving.
That was beautiful, Bob.
There's a choice we're making.
Enough already.
Yeah.
So,
Living our own lives.
It's true,
We make a better day. You and me.
I'm glad you didn't say you and I, which is the way the song was written, and that's grammatically incorrect. Anyway,
Is it? No, I think it says you and me, and that's incorrect.
it is
You and I would
it's
be
for
more-
you and me, not for you and I. That's incorrect. It's you and I. Anyway, it rhymes with you and I. Anyway,
You and I.
with regard to
I
mobilization,
and you.
that
I
is
and
the
thou.
first step and the most important step that we need to do is we need to share the information with our disbelieving climate naysayers, climate denier friends and relatives, and we all have them. And we need to stop. No,
It's true.
We need
It
to
is
stop.
important to stand your
It's
ground
very
and be like,
important.
talk
and
about things.
Before you take up that discussion, you need to be knowledgeable. That's why you need to purchase or not purchase. Go to the library and buy books and study books and listen to people like Theo and Bill McKibben and be a participant in 350.org.
350 Vermont.
It's
right
a
there.
it's-
It's not
it's
just
a
it's
very,
also a
very
website.
Powerful,
Do they know what
powerful
350.org
movement.
is? That it's-
350.org.
It's the amount of carbon in the air
That's
under
the
350 milligrams
That's right.
or
parts per million.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the composition of the sky that we want to keep at, if we want to keep the planet at all inhabitable, is 350 parts per million. It was before the Industrial Revolution. It was like 280.
But we've
It's like
already passed it.
392 now. We should be removing carbon from the sky, not adding more every
But
day
we're
with our
always
cars.
adding.
Every year it's going up. Last
Yes.
year was more than ever.
Next year will be
More than ever.
Yeah, and
But
just
it's
wait till
like-
they burn off the
Doesn't
tar
have to be.
sands.
And that's another thing that I wanted to discuss is adaptation. In addition to acting so that we can help the planet for our children and our grandchildren, we needed to talk about adapting to the hotter planet because things are changing and they have changed and we're not going back. Unfortunately, we're not going
I
back.
just find this like I want to not have a conversation about adaptation. I want to have a conversation to how to have a revolution. So we stop
need
it
to
now.
have
but
a
this whole
revolution.
adaptation, like I heard Hillary Clinton say this thing like, and she seems like really smart. She's like talking about adaptation. I'm just like,
Isn't it?
we don't want to
adoption?
adapt. There's no
have
adaptation to
to
this.
adapt.
Runaway climate change is game over for the species.
Adaptation.
It's
I was
breaking the
adapting.
sky. This is not something we're going to be like fit in with. I just think like this is like a science fiction experiment. What do humans do when they bust in layer of their atmosphere? I can do
Bleep.
that. Cooling.
That's
Yeah.
true. I agree with what you're saying. But for our children, we need to teach them how to adapt to a hotter planet. It's very important for the
What
survival
would that
of our
mean?
planet.
How would you teach your child to adapt?
For example, one of the first things that I predict, and based on other scientists' interpretation of the unknown, because it's all based on forecasting and modeling. We don't know exactly what's going to happen as we get worse and worse with regard to our carbon emissions and as the planet gets hotter and hotter and terrible tornadoes and hailstorms and snowstorms
Vermont
and
gets hurricanes.
but one of the biggest issues that's going to happen, beside the localized events that happen with the major disastrous weather events, is that there will be extreme drought. There will be extreme drought in the West, which is the breadbasket, literally, of the United States. And so we need to learn
this.
to...
So this is like yes.
we
so
know this. When you say
so-
we, who do you mean we?
What I'm saying like this is.
You mean you know it? You mean we know it? We know it, but we need to share the
I
information.
was like
with
sort of
people that don't
verbalism.
know.
I was just trying to like jump in with
I
something.
know. You're so
You
sorry.
know, they don't mulch
So-
out in California.
No mulch.
They don't mulch. They don't even sell it by the bag the way they do it here.
Really?
Yeah.
No,
No mulch.
People need mulch. That's why they need less.
they need to be educated. They can adapt. That people in California can start mulching.
Yeah, mulch is
People
great.
can start
They can learn
composting.
how to
Yeah.
mulch.
We put our perfectly usable waste on the landfill, which is craziness, instead of having a garden.
Yeah, I'll eat
I
that
think one
stuff.
of the first thing that we need to
Yeah.
do is to pay attention to where our products come from that we buy. That's, I think, a really, really easy step for us to do as consumers. We need to read the labels, and if it came from across the ocean, don't buy it. Buy something that was made locally, or even better, eat something that was grown locally. Do you know any local farmers, Bob?
Yes.
You
Do you know any
do?
local iPod makers? No.
No. Right. But I'm talking about food.
Well, I'm
That's
talking
what
about
I
electronics.
Well, I'm talking
I'm
about
talking
food.
about
You can't
Band-Aids.
eat
You ever seen any
electronics.
local American-made Band-Aids? You can't find them. They're made in China.
So
So don't cut yourself. I don't know. I'm just saying, it's not so easy.
it's not easy, but there are
not even
plenty.
possible.
It is possible when you have a choice.
Okay, for some things, some
products, and you know, some products you don't even need to buy. You think you need to buy,
Yeah, you
but
can
you don't
reuse
need
Band-Aids. Use old ones. Good idea. Actually, my fur is so thick I don't even cut myself. But I'm
Bob.
just talking about it in general.
Bob, are you friends with Stephen Colbert?
I'm
You
an
seem to
admirer of
be.
his work. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you are.
I actually like Jon Stewart a lot better. I think he's funnier.
Oh, I love Jon Stewart, but
Yeah,
I
he's
wouldn't
the
think
best.
that you would like him as much as you like Stephen Colbert, because you're sort of an antagonistic kind of a guy, aren't you, Bob?
I actually am a warm, fuzzy guy. See, I'm fuzzy.
Yeah. Watch you keep your hands above the table. Anyway,
Oh, did you
the
hear about
women.
the SpaceX Dragon?
No, what's
The
that?
new spaceship that went into the orbit this morning, was current events. And Theo doesn't like that because he thinks every time a spaceship goes through outer space, it pokes a hole in the sky.
I do think that's true.
Yeah.
Burning a big bottle rocket right at the top and all the thin gases is definitely not good to shoot big burning cylinders straight
It
through the
is
subtle
a
gases.
minor problem compared to
Yeah,
all of our
that
other
is a
problems.
minor problem
I mean,
compared to our other problems.
Who says
Well
minor
said.
problem? The big holes in the sky, the ozone hole, you know? Do you know that thing about, there was something that would propel...
Oh, here comes the fingers. Let me I played that fingers.
Yeah. My science fiction, James Lovelock wrote a book, and he was talking about Revenge of Gaia, and he said there was a propellant ingredient that they were going to use, the thing with the ozone hole being by the CFCs. They went to do the CFCs, but they almost did another one, and they might have done it, but the other one was cheaper, the CFCs. And maybe they would have already ruined the sky, and they would have been too late for them to know. It was like back in time, they almost wrecked, made the ozone hole unfixable. So I'm sure that's kind of a long and boring story, but I didn't have my science figures, but we could wreck the sky and then just be like, oh man, how are we gonna fix that? And
or wrecking the atmosphere.
and then people want to be like, oh, we'll just fly
And
around
we
with private
can't fix
space
it.
shuttle up there so I can hang out and pretend I'm an astronaut for 5 minutes with my Silicon Valley money that just dude.
We're hula hooping? Is that
We're
what
hooping!
hula hoop? Yay!
Girl's back.
Okay,
How
it's
many
forward.
years must a man?
How many ears? I don't have ears. That's a really interesting point. I don't have any ears. I can't hear any of you.
The seasons, they go round and round. Angels go up and down. I'm riding on the carousel all the time. Yay.
Thank you for distracting us.
Lightening the situation.
Do you know any jokes?
Oh, none that could be publicly aired on the television.
No, go ahead. We'll bleep them out, the bad parts.
That's okay. I'll have to reboot that some other time. Actually, I did have a great joke, but see, I'm over 50, well over 50, so I don't remember things. I have to think about it for a while and then come back at you on that.
Okay, I'll be right here.
Sorry.
How about you? Do you know any jokes?
Same kind of joke.
I know one joke. Why do seagulls live by the sea?
Why, Theo?
Because if they lived by the bay, they'd be bagels.
Bagels, I
Oh, that was a really too clean a joke for
Bagels.
10 o'clock at night. I'm sorry. We gotta have
Hey, you know this one? Why do golfers wear 2 pairs of pants? In case they get a hole in one!
That's pretty good. We would like to have it more intergenerational. It was great having an 8-year-old, and I'm great loving having my mom
you're saying
here.
your mom's old.
Our elders and our youthful.
Our
and
elders.
allies
And our puppets. And our siblings of puppets.
siblings and puppets.
Okay.
It's been blessings to be with you guys. Thank you guys for coming out to
Thank
the Climate
you, Theo,
Show.
for the opportunity.
And,
Thank you.